Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something a little different. Not an event, not a place, but an intellectual journey.
Right, we're tracking a transformation.
We're looking at the sources behind the life and work of Anba Paula, who was, a major religious figure.
But this story starts with a very personal struggle, and that struggle becomes this powerful methodology for applied knowledge.
That's really the core of what we're digging into, isn't it? The how.
Exactly. How did a personal crisis, a really tough emotional time, become this world-class intellectual system? Because this method went on to influence everything he did.
We're talking theology, national law.
And even, high-stakes humanitarian work. It's a masterclass in turning distress into a kind of discipline.
And the starting point, the absolute ground zero for all of this is something you'd just never expect.
Not at all.
It was sleeplessness,
Oh.
intense insomnia. The sources are so clear. His entire body of work started back in 1989 because he just couldn't sleep.
And you can't separate that from what was happening in his life. He had just taken on this huge responsibility.
The Ecclesiastical Council for Personal Status.
Yeah, and think about what that means day to day. His job was to listen to the most emotionally devastating stories you can imagine.
Family crises, divorces, financial ruin.
All of it. Deep personal struggles. So he's absorbing all of this human suffering every single day.
That's an incredible emotional weight to carry. You're basically taking on the anxiety of hundreds of people.
Exactly. And the sources say the pressure was just so intense that his brain couldn't shut off at night. It was stuck in this loop, just replaying everything. He needed a cure for his own mind.
Which brings us to the first big surprise in this story. Because his solution was completely counterintuitive.
It really was.
He didn't try to relax or meditate in the usual sense.
Oh.
His cure was to read for 2 hours every single day before even trying to sleep.
Right. So he's fighting mental exhaustion with more mental work.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster, but it worked.
It did, because it wasn't just passive reading. It wasn't about distraction. The sources actually call it an organized therapeutic process.
An organized therapeutic process. Okay, let's unpack that a bit. What's the difference between that and just, reading a novel to take your mind off things?
The difference is focus.
Yeah.
When you're anxious, your mind is just everywhere. It's chaotic, what one source called a whirlpool of anxiety.
Right.
But this kind of intense reading, it forces brain onto one single organized path. It's almost like mental restructuring. He was basically retraining his mind to focus, not panic.
So he was channeling all that chaotic energy into something constructive.
Exactly. And the fuel for that was this just voracious appetite for knowledge.
And not just theology, right?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
He was reading politics, economics, medicine, psychology, history, way outside his immediate field.
He was building a web of ideas.
He was. And there's one tiny detail he shared that is the absolute key to his whole method.
What's that?
He said, "I cannot read without a pen and writing marginal notes."
So it's active.
That's everything. That pen is the proof. He's not just consuming words. He's arguing with them, connecting them, questioning them. This isn't reading. It's deep research every single night.
And the fascinating part is how quickly that research started to feed back into his day job.
The very thing that caused the problem in the first place.
He goes from reading to escape the council's problems to using that reading to solve them.
Precisely. So now, when he's dealing with a complex family dispute, he's not just using church law. He can pull from sociology to see the bigger picture, or use psychology to mediate the conflict.
So the escape route became the toolkit.
The ultimate toolkit. It completely transformed his effectiveness.
That's an amazing turnaround. But this analytical approach, this sort of systematic thinking, it didn't come from nowhere, did it?
No, and that's where his background is so important. He was originally a graduate of the Faculty of Science, geology specifically.
So he was trained to think like a scientist. Observation, analysis.
Exactly. He looked at texts like a geologist looks at layers of rock. It's all about structure and evidence. And that scientific mind created a really big personal challenge for him.
It was.
How to reconcile the hard facts of science with the texts of the Holy Bible. For him, this wasn't just an academic debate. It was a deep internal need to make his worldview whole.
And that personal internal struggle eventually became a very public project.
It did. He started talking about it in his sermons, and his approach was so unique that it got the attention of Pope Shenouda III,
The head of the church at the time.
who then directly asked him to write articles on this very topic for El Karaza, which is the official church magazine.
Wow. That's a huge endorsement.
It's massive. It took his personal interest and turned it into a formal, officially sanctioned intellectual project.
And those articles became something bigger.
They were compiled into a 3-volume series, The Bible and Science. But crucially, it didn't just stay a book on a shelf. It became the required curriculum at the clerical college.
So he was actually shaping how the next generation of clergy thought, teaching them to integrate science and faith.
And the engine behind all of this, from the insomnia to the curriculum, was just pure curiosity. He had this quote that sums it all up.
Go on.
He said, "When I hear something, I must ask about it, and I never hear a title without asking for its detail."
Never accept the surface level. That's the whole method in one sentence.
And that's the engine that takes him out of the church and into the national arena.
Right. This is where we see the method tested on a completely different scale. Let's talk about his role in the Constitution.
A huge high-stakes platform.
He was chosen for the Committee of 50, Lajnet L50, which was drafting the new Egyptian Constitution. This was in 2012 and again in 2014.
And you have to remember the context. This was an incredibly tense, politically charged time in Egypt.
Absolutely. The future of the country was on the table.
And the expectation for a religious figure on a committee like that is usually pretty clear, right? You show up, you defend your group's ideological position.
Right, you're a representative first.
But he didn't prepare as a representative. He prepared as a researcher.
Okay, so what did that look like in practice?
Before the first meeting, he studied the constitutions of 28 different countries.
28.
28. He analyzed their structures, their legal precedents, everything. And at the same time, he did a deep study of Islamic Sharia.
That is an incredible amount of prep work. Why go that far?
Yeah.
Why not just focus on his own tradition?
Because he needed to understand the entire landscape of what was possible. If he just showed up with one perspective, all he could do was assert it. But by studying 28 other models, he could offer real, tested solutions.
And studying Sharia meant he could engage respectfully and knowledgeably with the majority's legal tradition.
Precisely. And he had this amazing quote that explains his entire philosophy. He said, "So if I argued and said no, I would know why I was saying no."
That's powerful.
Yeah.
My no isn't just an opinion, it's a conclusion based on evidence.
Exactly. It's not based on ideology. It's
Yeah.
based on comparative data, on precedent. It completely changes the nature of the debate.
You're not just arguing anymore. You're contributing expert analysis.
You're offering solutions. When you can say, well, in the Swedish model, they solved this by doing X, your voice just carries a different weight.
Okay, so from constitutional law, let's pivot to something completely different. A humanitarian project.
For children with Down syndrome. Yeah, from macro politics to very personal micro-level care. It's the perfect test for the method.
So what would be the normal way to start a project like this?
You'd fundraise, you'd hire some local specialists, you'd get a building. But he approached it like a thesis project.
Field research.
Rigorous field research. He flew to Italy and Switzerland for 2 weeks. He visited their top centers, interviewed their experts, took pictures, studied their operational manuals.
He essentially did a master's degree in developmental care just to build one center.
It goes back to his core belief, right? Good intentions are not enough. You have to back them up with the best available knowledge.
So the center he built was based on world-class standards.
Absolutely. But there's a key detail the sources point out. It was founded with an Egyptian spirit.
What does that mean? It wasn't just a copy-paste job.
Exactly. He didn't just import a Swiss model and drop it in Egypt. He intelligently adapted everything to the local culture.
So maybe that means incorporating the role of the extended family or tailoring the language?
All of that. Using local resources, respecting cultural values, it's the synthesis of global best practice and local reality. That's what makes it sustainable.
The research provides the what, but the context provides the how.
Perfectly put. His method forces you to understand both.
So we have this incredible range: theologian, scientist, constitutional lawyer, humanitarian, writing these very serious works.
But the real proof of his flexibility for me is his communication style. He wasn't just stuck in that high-level academic gear.
You're talking about the booklets for young people.
Yes. With these incredibly informal, direct titles.
Things like, how much did you buy her for?
Which is slang, basically. Or Mama's Boy. He's using their language to talk about real issues they face.
The same person who's reading 28 constitutions can turn around and write a booklet called Mama's Boy.
That's the genius of it. The research is deep and serious, but the application is infinitely flexible. He could speak to academics and he could speak to a teenager and be equally effective with both.
So if we go back and look at the whole arc, it's just an amazing story. What starts as a desperate measure to cure insomnia.
Becomes this complete life philosophy, a methodology built on curiosity and applied knowledge.
The real takeaway here seems to be that for him, knowledge was never a luxury. It wasn't about being cultured.
Never. It was a practical necessity. It was a tool you use to make a tangible impact, whether you're reforming theology, helping write a constitution, or building a care center.
And it all started with that simple habit the source mentioned. Always asking for the details, never just accepting a title or a term at face value.
We don't all need to start reading for 2 hours a night.
No, definitely not. But what if you just adopted that one habit? The curiosity to ask why or how about one thing you hear each day.
That's a great thought to end on. If you really think about it, what new worlds, what new projects, what new understanding could open up for you? If you just adopted that small, consistent habit of asking for the details, that's the first step to your own deep dive.